For this month's Ruler of the Month, we're using the Pineapple Trim Tool by Creative Grids. This trim tool allows for a 4-inch, 5-inch, or 6-inch block, and that is this pineapple block. This is what the 4-inch block looks like, and you can keep sewing onto this to make it even larger to get your 5-inch or 6-inch block, which you can then trim up with the Pineapple Trim Tool. I'm going to show you the basics of how this trim tool works in order to make this block. Remember, with every single one of my Ruler of the Month videos, there is a quilt that goes along with it that shows you how to use this ruler and the block that I make with the ruler to make a quilt. So go down to the description box and you will find the link to the Ruler of the Month and all of the blocks that are made with these fun rulers. If you have a favorite Creative Grids ruler that I haven't done a video on yet, let me know what it is. But in the meantime, remember that you can always snap a picture of the QR code and it'll take you right to the site that will have Creative Grids showing you exactly how this ruler works. So that's always an option with any of the Creative Grids rulers. There is an instruction sheet that comes with every single ruler, as well as a QR code, but there also are basic instructions right on the ruler to help you out. The basic instructions here says to cut strips at least 1 1/4 inch wide and cut a 1 1/2 inch center square. So that's what I did here. I cut a 1 1/2 inch center square and I stitched on 2 opposite sides, pressed, and then stitched on the other 2 opposite sides a piece that was the 1 1/4 inch by 1 1/2 inch. And so that way I went all the way around. You could sew strips on either side that are the whole length, so that would be 3 inches, but that would really be a waste of fabric because we're trimming that away. So you really only need a 1 1/2 inch by 1 1/4 inch piece for all of these sides. And for this first round, notice that I'm using my solid colored fabric and not my print. Now I'm going to take my ruler, and if you see it says around 1, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. It just has these different numbers all along. And it feels like it might be random, but I guarantee you it's not. We're going to start with our round 1. In that round 1, we're going to match up our square. Now to match up our square, we can absolutely use our large spot-on dot to be able to see that even better. And that works perfect. So there we go. That trims right off. And you can see what I mean about all of that being waste. You don't even notice that that piece of fabric wasn't there, and it would have completely just gotten put in my trimmings pile. I'm going to do the same thing again, centering with my spot-on dot. And there we go, I've gone all the way around. Now I can add my first scrappy round around it, and if you look, this is only 2 inches, so I just need a 2-inch piece going all the way around to stitch on here. And that's what I've done here. I've added my scrappy fabrics and stitched all the way around. And now, instead of using round 1, I'm going to be using round 2 to square up these edges. Again, I can use my large spot-on dot to be able to see and line up my center square. And with round 2 and all of the even rounds, I can actually trim 2 sides at once, which makes this go twice as fast, and that's nice. Turn. And there we go. Now round 2 is completely done. From round 1 to round 2, now we're going to add round 3, and all of our odd rounds are our solid colored fabrics, and if you can see, this is only 2 1/2 inches, so I only need to add a 2 1/2 inch strip on all of these. Here are my 2 1/2 inch strips added on, and I'm going to go from round 2 to round 3. Now you'll see that round 3 isn't listed on here. I've got 1, 10, 8, so on. That's because it says right here 45-degree angle trim line rounds 3, 5, 7, and 9. So I'm going to be using this 45-degree angle trim line and not the squares. So I'm lining up this white line with my triangle, and then this is going to be my 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you'll see I'm practically cutting right on the edge of that corner. Now if you want to be able to do this and see it better with the spot on dot, then I would use the small dot to be able to see that that line is lined up. And you also line up these white lines with the sides of your box. So we're using all the white lines for when we're trimming our solid colored fabrics. And again, lining up the dotted lines and the solid line. And once more. So now I've gone from 2 rounds to 3 rounds, and I'm going to add round number 4, and I can see that I need 3-inch pieces to add to round number 4. So I've done that here. And you can see how it's already getting a lot of its color, and this looks like such a cool, fun block. Round 4 are the rounds that I can do. Here we go. 2 at a time. So I'm lining up that round 4 square with my center square. And if you ever lose track of what round you're on, start from the middle and count out. I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on round 4. There we go. Round 4 is all squared up. Now I'm on to round 5, which is another layer of solid fabrics. And looks like this. And for these solid fabrics, you can see I used 3.5-inch strips. So for round 5, remember that's one of my odd rounds where I'm using my 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm just going to leave my spot on dot here because it's not in my way. And now I feel like I need to double check myself because I'm going to be cutting off an edge here of not just the solid fabric of round 5, but I'm actually cutting off a piece of round 4, and you absolutely are supposed to do that. There we go. That was round 5. Now I'm going to add a layer or a round of my scrappy fabrics to make round 6. And that looks like this. So round 6 is one of my even rounds. I'm going to move my spot on dot over to round 6. Line up that square. And make my cuts. Having this spot on dot there, also make sure that as I'm turning or as I'm going from one block to the next and making all my cuts that I'm not accidentally going to the wrong spot and cutting it incorrectly. Make sure that I'm cutting the right one each time. So there is my round 6. Now I'm just doing the 4-inch, which right now it'll be at 4.5 inches, but it's a 4-inch block when it's finished in the quilt, and so I'm not going to add any more rounds here. If you were moving on to do the 5-inch or 6-inch, you would add another round of solid and then another round of print and so on. But since I'm not, that's what I've done here. I've added on my corner pieces, and they are much bigger than you need, which is totally fine because you're just going to be trimming it away. And we can actually use this same round 6 placement to get our 4-inch block. There we go. Now we have our finished pineapple quilt block, and we can add it to our other pineapple quilt blocks to make really fun pineapple quilts. Or you can go to my site, the link's down below, and that'll give you instructions on how to make these blocks into the Ruler of the Month quilt. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And as always, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel to get all of my crafting and quilting updates. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.